I think it's just every single day. When I sit in the chair and we're like 3 minutes to air and I'm looking in front of me and it's FS1, that's kind of the moment every day. I'm like, all right. Normally I'm thinking like I'm just gonna do this game, and again, no offense to some college sports, but how many people are gonna be watching this men's basketball game, on a Tuesday night? Maybe not too many, but it's like this to be sitting on a linear channel every day. It's like, okay, lock in and
It's the newest episode of the Sports Prod Pod. I'm Nick, as usual, your host, Nick Case, if you don't know. Joining me today, somebody who's had a really eclectic career path, and I really can't wait to dive in and talk about it with him. But I got to introduce him first. That man is Jeremy Schrank. Jeremy, hey, buddy, how's it going?
hey, good to see you, Nick. It's been too long. It's good to see you. Good to see that your background hasn't changed. All the Pittsburgh stuff. I feel for you this year. I feel like you got the Aaron Rodgers treatment now. So enjoy enjoy the feeling of being good, but not really necessarily being that great.
As a 41, 42-year-old like Aaron, Um, I can absolutely see where the issue is. It's I don't want to get up some morning says I'm sore from working out, and then he's going out and getting hit on dropbacks continuously. I understand why he's trying to avoid them. It's
Yeah,
why he's not playing well right now. But I understand, and I think it's just first half of the year when he was fresh, he looked good. He's taking
yeah.
the hits. He's
He's
41,
still got it
42.
in there.
Yeah.
He can still do it, just not as much.
No,
Not as
he's
much.
41 and 42 now at the end of the season, and he's taking the hits. Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem. Jeremy is a Packers fan, for those that need to know.
Yes, I
Yeah, works together at the Charleston River Dog, so it's been 6 years since you left, and so really about that long since we've seen each other.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. It's been yeah, going on 7 years now already.
yeah, I mean, you'd come to town, you wouldn't say anything, but that's a different story.
It's always like a short stint, when you go and travel and you're not the only one. I need to make a trip by myself. That's what I've learned when as I've gotten older is like if you really want to see like do everything that you to accomplish real things, you got to go by yourself. Because I go to trips, some things by myself, and I'm like, I got a rental car, and I only got myself to worry about, and then you can just go everywhere. But when you gotta be here at a certain time, and you got dinner reservations at this time, it all goes so fast.
Yeah, and I mean, Colby and I met all of what, maybe twice, your wife. So, I'm sure she doesn't have the fondest memories of me, if any, because I think one of them was in a Harris Teeter aisle. So, you know, I understand.
She knows everybody. Everybody I work with, she's always knows from her experience at the game. So it's always like, oh, her walking the concourse, looking up to the control room, and everybody waving. That's her experience at every stop I've ever been at. Is like, because there's not a great time for like, her to meet people, right? Because it's like I can bring you before the game, but we're in the heat of the battle, and then after the game, we all want to get the heck out of here and go home. So it's just kind of like, but it's funny you say that because that's like her memory of everybody. She knows I could drop a name, like the most random name that I'm not gonna be able to think of one right now, and Reagan. I could drop a Reagan name, and she would know. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I know. And give me like a little bit of a backstory. Like she's good at that.
She knows their lore, maybe not them, but she knows their myth.
Correct. She knows like the things about you and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's a surface level, I guess.
Yeah, whenever I tell my mom I'm going to Columbia or Charlotte or Rock Hill for an event for work, oh, is Michelle going with you? No, she's definitely not. I'm going to drive up. I'm going to get to sleep early because I have an early call time. I'm going to be working all day, rinse and repeat, and then I'm coming home. There's no point of her going it with me.
Yeah. No. I mean that's yeah. Not to hijack this interview, but I'd say that's like such a big part of like the story of working in sports, right? Is like it's like whether you want to or not, it's like its own separate entity when you work in sports because it's like I feel like I would leave, and it's different now and we'll probably get into that, but like working in college athletics, you leave at noon and you don't get home if you got a 7 o'clock game until 10, 11 o'clock at night. She's at work when I leave, she's sleeping when I get home, like, and it's like a different, you literally live like a different world. And especially on game days, it's so much different than a non-game day. So it definitely plays a major role.
I will jump ahead a little bit and then come back. How was that? when she was a reporter, if you don't mind my getting a little personal.
No, I mean it's a major part of our story. Yeah, so like my wife Colby, for those that don't know, was a TV news reporter when we lived in Charleston and again in Washington D.C. Um, and it was just very unique. She worked nights at both of those places, so like you said, I'm going to work at 9 o'clock on a typical day in the morning. She's not going until noon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, but then she's not getting home until 11 o'clock at night. So we didn't see each other a whole lot, really. Especially the Charleston days. I mean, from spring to fall when we're working 7 night homestands or whatever. And then again in DC, it was the same way. Like if you get into the heat of the fall and the winter, when I'm working women's soccer and volleyball and basketball and women's basketball, and then she's working. She worked weekends too for a little bit, so she worked like Wednesday to Sunday. So we didn't see each other, nearly as much as we do now, certainly.
Yeah, Jeremy has been going on your LinkedIn here just to get your full background. I didn't realize you started as a sports anchor reporter at Columbia, I assume, while you were at Mizzou.
Yeah, that was during college. That's a beauty of Mizzou is that was the original career path. Was on camera in front of, did sports anchoring and reporting in school. Like a lot of kids had the vision of I'm going to be on Sports Center, ESPN, in front of the camera, and it really shifted like halfway through my senior year. I was like, do I can go live, and a lot of my friends did this, go live in a small town in Alabama or Mississippi or something and cover high school football for the next 5 years, or I can kind of go behind the scenes and got to live in these places like Charleston and Washington D.C. Right away, and so that was a huge turning point for me. I just didn't have the passion for the in front of the camera as much as I thought I did.
Yeah, from there, we'll just go through the resume and then go back to the different spots. You worked with me, most importantly, as the director of video production at the Charleston River Dogs. From there, the up to DC, as you mentioned, George Washington University, director of broadcast and video production. And then, according to your hat, your next stop was in venue producer, production manager for Vanderbilt. And you just left, and you are now segment producer for the new Wake Up Barstool.
Yeah, it's been a long journey. It seems like when you say it, it's like, man, I'm not that old. It feels like I've gone to a lot of places in a relatively short amount of time. Part of that was again due to my wife Colby working. She was on a news contract, so the first two stops we bounced around because she got signed a new contract in a new city. Um, but now these last two, that was only the first two. These last two has again been more spur of the moment, trying to find that place that we really want to end up long term.
Yeah, there's some people that will stick to kind of one genre, if you will. Minor league, college, um, an ESPN or a Fox Sports. Not a lot kind of do all three like you have. Let's just start with the River Dogs and look to your trip to George Washington from there. Um, what was the biggest difference going from a minor league baseball atmosphere to college one in terms of scheduling, in terms of desired output, in terms of a work-life balance to an extent? What was the biggest difference?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, and the timing of it kind of worked out this way too. Um, the minor league thing, especially in Charleston, as you know, like the in venue experience is like everything. I mean, social media is obviously important, and it's a factor in getting fans to the ballpark. But the big thing, and my major role was like working with our promotions director Nate and then all of you guys on like how do we make this like Thursday night, really something special. Um, that was not that way when I moved to college athletics. I learned that a little bit. I think that was the part of it that I missed the most. I love, and I love this part at Vanderbilt. I love the fan experience. I love fan entertainment. I always said the coolest part of my job, especially at the River Dogs, was like every person that walked through those gates. It was like the best part of their day, and I think that's such a unique thing about working in sports. Um, and so I took that to heart. But yeah, I mean, the going to college athletics, it was so much more. I throw this word around a lot. Like it was so much more corporate, which I'm sure you can get the sense of. I was pretty young, like in Charleston. That was like my learning spot. I was pretty raw. Um, I tried to soak up as much stuff, especially in the production side. Like I said, I wasn't the most knowledgeable, as you could probably attest. Like you were teaching me things about replay, and I'm learning how are we patching these things, in a switcher and a router, all this stuff. So I soaked all that up, but yeah, it was minor league is all hands on deck, do everything you have to do, and then you get to college athletics, and it's much more. We're gonna sit in a conference room, we're gonna plan, we're gonna come up with ideas, and then we're gonna execute them. Whereas again, minor league is just throw it on the table and see where it goes.
Yeah, and if you want a little more about that, Jeremy and Nate Grant, who we talked to now with the Tampa Bay Rays, can dive a little bit more into his experience making a similar jump. I remember the quote that sticks out is texting. I think it was you or it was Phil. No, it's probably you. Phil is grounds. He wouldn't have texted Phil, saying there's 10 people doing what we did.
Yeah, no, I texted Nate after I listened to the episode of you and him, and we reminisced about that exact text because it's like the truest thing you can come up with in minor league baseball. It's just everybody there. How many people we had on staff? 20 people total, probably. And everybody does so many different things. And even just in our little production silo, from scripting to game planning and content creation, social media, in venue, live streaming, video boards, audio, music. I mean, you go on and on and on. We had to make it. We had to get it working. So you go from there, and I got to George Washington, which is by no means a gigantic operation, but I still immediately felt like, oh wow, you have somebody that does that, and you have four people that are going to handle social media. Like it was an eye opener, and I felt it at every step I've made, where it's like I can hone in more and more every stop.
Yeah, what in your time at your 3 years at George Washington, you do average about 3 years a place, which is not bad. I feel like that's about industry average, maybe a little bit more, so don't feel too bad about yourself on that sense. In your 3 years at George Washington, what did you do there that was kind of your biggest takeaway as you made your next jump to Vanderbilt?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was where I kind of categorized, not to get too far ahead of myself, but like you said, it's kind of these 3 year increments, and they all kind of are like a different chapter. And like I said, Charleston, I was raw and I was learning. I really, for the most part, had very little like I didn't know really what I was doing for the first couple months, certainly. So I was soaking it all in. In DC, that stint at GW, that was when I really got to like put my production skills to work, essentially. And I would say on the broadcast side specifically. So as we're streaming how many games a year? 150, I think, ESPN Plus broadcasts we were doing a year from, with basketball, both basketballs, volleyball, soccer, lacrosse, and up there we had rowing and we had squash and all these random sports. So I just got a lot of opportunities, to be honest. And doing a lot of remote control rooms. We didn't like our soccer field. We were setting up a TriCaster and a mixer and all this stuff every single game. Like we would roll it out, I would set it up, and at the beginning it probably took me 2.5 hours to set that thing up, and by the end it was taking me like 25 minutes. So it was just it was just cool to see the progression at my time there. Um, Again, just got so many opportunities to fail, which I think is important in this industry. I'm sure a lot of people have said that, and I'm sure you would say the same thing. Like, there's so many kids, like I've worked with students at GW and all these things, and they're so scared that they're going to mess up, which I get. Pressure's high. We all want to be great, but you're not like you're gonna fail. This stuff's too hard, in my opinion, for us not to screw up every now and then.
Yeah, I always tell people I've never had a perfect show. You know,
Hmm.
I've come close. I was doing the
So, but can I say something real quick about that?
yeah.
One of the coolest things we had at Vanderbilt, the day I got there, in our control room, there still to this day, there was two $20 bills sitting on the counter of the control room, and I was like, "What is this like?" just cash, just sitting there like wrinkled up and whatever. It's like, what is this? Like, is this like a? So can I take this? Like, what's going on? I guess when they opened the control room, it was like 10 years ago. They were having a conversation and they were messing up and whatever. And one guy threw down like the 220s and goes, "Whoever has the next perfect show in this control room can take that $40." And it's still there because it's impossible to have a perfect show. Like it was the coolest representation for me. Like it just sits there in the corner. Like things get clean, things get moved all the time. You know how much do we lose equipment in a control room? And those two $20 bills are still there. Anyway, sorry. I
No,
just thought
that's
that was
awesome. I'm really glad you shared that. That's amazing. That's a great
yeah,
story, and it's at that, it's at Vanderbilt. It's at a place that expects, a very high quality product, but they also have the awareness to say you're not going to be perfect. You're going to screw up and minimize it, and it's fine. Nobody cares, but it's not
yeah,
going to be perfect.
right. Again, we can and the best and the worst part about that is that our non-perfect show is still could be perfect to a viewer, and that's really, if we can minimize, we might have 10 mistakes in a show, but they might be so minute and minuscule that if whether you're a fan in the arena watching on video board or watching a broadcast at home or on your laptop or whatever, like most people aren't even going to pick up on that stuff. So it's like if you can keep it minimal too, it's just like it's really not worth beating yourself up over.
Yeah, there are definitely times where I have a mistake and I have to kind of tell myself, I know it, but the viewer probably watching didn't notice it. It's such a minute thing, an early fire of a graphic or a bad cut that you can just kind of linger on and not think too much about. Uh, Chances are you are beating yourself up over something that doesn't matter if you are that stressed about it.
Yep, agreed. And I used to be, I'm sure everybody at some point in their career was like that. I used to be so hyper analyze myself after every game. I'd be like, why did I do this? Why did I do that? And I feel like that's the maturity especially if you're producing and directing, right? Because you're making so many decisions over the course of a game. Like, why did I choose to go with this? Why did I not wait for that? Why did I, get so excited to go with that graphic in the 10 minutes into the first half when I've got a 45-minute soccer game coming up? Like it's just, but you just got to let it fly and like go with your gut instinct. And most of the time, you're gonna be just fine.
Yeah, when I did the Field of 68 marathon, there were times I would beat myself up because I got off of a replay too soon and missed a reaction. And like it was a great reaction. But I know what was missed. My producer knows what was missed. My replay op knows what was missed. Nobody else knows what was missed. It was a
Right.
screw up, but it's okay. Like if
Yeah.
nobody watching knows that they missed the guy doing the three with the okay symbol,
Yeah,
nobody else knows that.
yeah, no, no, and it's again, I think that's what makes people good at their jobs in a sense. Like again, this is such a detailed business. There's so many things happening in the course of a game that I think it's good to be hypersensitive and hyper detailed. Because again, we want a perfect show. Like that is the goal per se. Um, even like to this day, on my the show that I work on now, we have a Monday through Friday. So I've been here for 2 months. We've done almost 60 shows. We meet for like 15 minutes after every single show and talk about what went well, what didn't go well. And it's like, by this point, in a sense, every show is similar, right? We run the same intro at the beginning of the show. We go to break it's the same number of times. Like things are pretty similar. But it's good to hyper analyze some of these things and be like, okay, how did this go? How do we make that better? I mean, that's how we improve.
Yeah, and I'll go back to the Field of 68 as another example of this. Um, the first two shows, I was going to the talent a little too early when it was their time to go on camera. Um, and then I got it right, and it looks better, but the people viewing at home, they probably don't know. But as far as like us and myself and David, the producer, we know we wanted it a certain way, and I just kept happy finger take a little too soon. And, by that third show, which was as close to a perfect show as I've got, I fat fingered once going to Jeff Goodman at the half. Outside of that, it
Mm-hmm.
was a clean, crisp, perfect show. But because I learned, just wait that second and let them get settled. But it's such a minute thing that you might beat yourself up for that the people watching, the other people watching, they don't care. They don't notice. But you just want it to be perfect.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds super cliche, and it probably is, but like it is true, and especially when you're in the TD chair and producer chair, like you can't let one mistake turn into two, three, or four, because it's so easy to be like, oh, dang it, I messed this up, and then you like kind of lose focus, you get out of the zone, and next thing you know, you've done it, something else two or three times, and it's like just you gotta. It's a hard thing. Like I did this a lot when I started producing, like at Vanderbilt and stuff. Like I've try to rush in a graphic or rush in something, or I'd wait too long and I'd really be like, dang it, I missed this replay here. And the next thing you know, I just missed another one because now I'm too hesitant or now I'm scared, and you got to just like roll with the punches and get ready for the next thing.
Yeah, and I find I'm guilty of that. It's you gotta goldfish it. You gotta let it be one and done because the more you compound it, the more it snowballs. And even if it means you just take a moment in whatever game you're doing and just say, "All right, we're gonna park on one for a second. I gotta breathe and resettle myself and recenter myself." That's fine. It doesn't matter what sport you're on. You can park on one for a second and just let it happen and let yourself regather yourself. Just that's the most important thing you can do in that instance.
100%.
So what was it like? You might have already touched on it a little bit, but a little more in depth going from George Washington to something a lot bigger in at Vanderbilt.
Yeah. So the coolest part of that was I kind of when I went to Vanderbilt, I was no more, super in on the broadcast side. My main focus was the in venue, which, like I said, I love that part when I was in Charleston. So that was like a super cool, you know, new chapter. It was like, okay, now I get to go back into this, but instead of 4,000 fans, it's 15,000 fans at basketball, or it's 45,000 fans at football. With the stakes are so much higher. Vanderbilt's an amazing place, and over the course of my 3 years there, we invested so much in the control rooms and like had the best equipment and all the opportunities to succeed. Um, but it was a bit overwhelming, not gonna lie. I mean, it was like at first new equipment, new software. How do you jump into a new system and immediately have the confidence to like push the limit, right? Like that's when I got to Vanderbilt. I'm pretty sure I told my boss this like in the first couple weeks, but it was a self goal too. Like I want Vanderbilt to be the best environment in the SEC, which maybe sounds crazy when there's places like LSU and Texas A&M, but I was like, there's no reason we can't have the best stadium environment just because we don't have 100,000 fans. So like that was what drove me every day. It was like I'm going to use all my resources. It's not like it's the biggest school in the world. It's still a smaller private institution. So it's like we had a great marketing team and a great creative team, but there was still a lot of hands on deck to get things to where we wanted it to be. But over the course of my time there with stadium renovations, and we added video boards, we added new Ross equipment and Tessera and all this stuff. Like we really turned it into some really special. And I guarantee if you went to a game 5 years ago and you went today, you would not even be close to recognize it.
How much does Diego Pavia owe you for this?
Yeah, he probably does owe me a little bit. No, just kidding. He literally has changed. It's unbelievable what he's done, literally. But I mean, I've always said like I've never seen the buy-in. You go to schools, and I'm sure like you know a lot of people care. Some schools are gonna put more effort into providing for broadcast or production than others, obviously. But I never, and not to take shots or whatever, but like when I was at George Washington, I mean I had to push real hard to get like a $400 camera, right? Or when I got and we got like a Sony A7 III, it was like $1,200 at the time. That was like a huge thing, and so that was kind of what I was used to. And then I went to Vanderbilt, and in the first couple months, I learned about this $300 million, you know, athletics wide renovations, and a couple million of that is going into new control rooms and new video boards and all this stuff. And it's like when it's from the top down and the investment from is literally being put into like what we are doing, it was just like an unbelievable feeling of like, wow, like it's not just I was so used to like it's just us that really care, it's just our group. But when everybody is putting their effort into it. And like the football coach and the basketball coach, I'm in meetings with like assistant coaches, and they're like, no, we want the in venue experience to be like to really get better. Like how do we do this together? Um, it was pretty cool. So like you put that on top of you get somebody like Diego now, and that's like you have both forces push like pulling in the right direction, is pretty incredible.
Yeah, what you said yourself, Vanderbilt's a smaller private college and a big thing in the SEC. What's the buy-in from Nashville, the greater Nashville area like?
Well, it's getting better now, certainly. I mean, it's easy to say, again, when you win, they come, right? Like at the very base level, to me in sports, like when your teams are winning, you're going to get fan support, you're going to get buy-in. So that was the hardest part for me was, and for our group, our marketing group, when I first got there, was like things were bad. Like all of our sports were pretty bad. How do we continue to like sell this product? Because that's what we're doing, whether we're broadcast or whether we're in venue. How do we sell this product, to our fan base? So it was difficult, but I mean, the buy-in has gotten so much better. And again, when they've put in the effort for facilities and the product on the field, all these things have gone in the right direction. It's the buy-in is much bigger now. Um, Still got a ways to go. When you go to a Vanderbilt football game, you're usually going to get a good chunk of visiting fans there, but it's shrinking every year at this rate.
I also do feel like that's part of what living in a place like Nashville will do.
It's a melting pot for sure.
Especially when you look at the other schools in the SEC, like they're big schools, but at the end of the day, they are college towns.
100%.
Yeah, like Columbia, South Carolina may be one of the only exceptions. I have never been to Columbia, Missouri, so I can't speak to that.
No,
So,
it's true college town, just like all the rest of them.
yeah,
Yeah,
so Austin and Nashville may be like, if somebody's planning a trip to see their school, it's one of those two schools, you know?
yeah.
So I feel like that just kind of lends itself. And yeah, more fans come, more home fans come because we have more home fans, less for visiting players. But I think it's the same with, a Steelers fan are going to pick one game to go to a year in like a destination just to go see them and get away for a bit.
Yeah, I mean, we would have whole meetings with whether it was with marketing or ticketing or sponsorships about just strictly around visiting fans. Like, because when I first got there and we were not very good, if you when you host Alabama or Georgia or Auburn, the entire half of the stadium would be red or blue. Like, not a mix in of Vanderbilt, like the entirety of it. So then it's like, okay, well, can we do promotions over there? We're not going to do our like T-shirt toss in front of the entire Georgia fan base. Um, so yeah, it was like it really impacted what we were doing. And again, we had meetings where we're like, there's so many transplant people in Nashville, right? There's so many people that went to Tennessee or that went to Auburn or that went to Georgia that live in Nashville. We would talk about like how do we might never be those people's number one team. They're always going to root for Tennessee over us. They're always going to root for Georgia over us. But how do we make them their number two team? When they're not going to the Georgia game, the rest of the 7 games of the year, how do we get them to come to Vanderbilt and root for Vanderbilt? Um, and I think we took that, and I think it worked for a few years. But now, again, they're getting so good to the point where I think you're starting to convert people to be actually their number one team, which is the ultimate goal. But it is a true unique place to work that way, where you're always going to have a visiting fan base issue.
So from there, you made the switch from Nashville to Chicago. Now, man, you've lived in some cool places: Charleston, D.C., Nashville, Chicago.
I say it, Nick, all the time. Like, I am so blessed to have lived in some of the places and again, some of them are like not even really like my doing, like random. Like, my wife got a job in Charleston, or I would have never ended up there. Never would a million years would have thought I'd live there. DC, same thing. Never would have chose to probably go live there. Um, so yeah, it's that's been the coolest part is we've gotten to live in some really cool, fun cities.
I always thought it was interesting how fortunate you guys were to both continue doing your careers in different cities and follow each other doing that. I feel like that is not common. It's usually one or the other has to kind of give in and I don't want to say give up, but put on pause what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, if we had another 3 hours, I could get into what all that goes into that because I mean, not easy by any means. A lot of luck, I would say, um, and I would say it got harder. It's gotten harder with each stop. We like I think I told you like we had talked about living in Chicago. We almost moved to Chicago when we moved to Nashville. Um, but the Vanderbilt job was too good to pass up. That was like this is a really great opportunity. So we were like, yeah, Nashville's good. We wanted to get closer to family in the Midwest, so it kind of solidified that spot. But when we decided, like, okay, when this job comes available, then it becomes like a real thing. Like, okay, well, how do we both again make this work together, cohesively at the same time? It's a lot of LinkedIn and a lot of messaging people and trying to find the right job because it's not just getting a job. It's like, is this the right job? I don't want either one of us to be miserable. So yeah, we've been very blessed. Knock on wood. Hopefully we don't have to. I don't want to do this again. I think we're done. I think we're done moving. So hopefully we're here for a little while.
So you are at Wake Up Barstool now. It's on Fox FS1.
FS1. Yep. Every weekday morning. Yep.
It's nice and early for you in Chicago. What's the schedule like for you now?
Yeah, I mean it's like polar opposite, I would say, of what I was doing before. So if we go pros and cons, the pros, I am no longer working weekends. This is the first time in my entire professional career that I will not be working weekends. So that is a huge plus. Um, and then I'm also not working nights, which is the other plus. No more 7 o'clock games, no more of that. So that's the pros. The cons, yeah, it's every weekday morning. We have to call time is 5 a.m. for our 7 o'clock show Central Time. So the alarm goes off every morning about 4:15. Whether you're ready or not, it's there. But so far, it's been a good. The first couple weeks was a difficult transition, but so far, as long as you get to bed at a decent hour, it's not too bad.
What does a decent hour look like for waking up at 4:15?
I have found that if I'm not like in bed, if not asleep by 9 o'clock, I'm going to be tired the next day. So, which isn't too bad. I mean, I used to stay up till like 10:30, 11. So now I'm like about 8:30. I'm starting to wind down for the night. But like last night, at the time of this recording, Monday night, the Packers played Monday Night Football last night, so I stayed up until 10:45, 11 o'clock. Um, those are nap days the next afternoon.
Yeah.
Get home, take a nap for like an hour or two, kind of get yourself back in the because it is like you have to like map it out. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, I know people do morning news at 2 a.m. That's even worse. So I'm not complaining, but it's less to me about how many hours I get each night as much as how many hours that I get that week because they start to add up. You can do one day of 4.5, 5 hours of sleep, but if you stack that like 2 or 3 days in a row, then you're really going to be hurting come Wednesday or Thursday. So that's what I tried to do. Like my first week, I just stayed up, didn't sleep too much, and by Friday was out like 6 hours nap during the day. I was like, I cannot do this every day. So go to bed a little bit earlier now, and now it's like, okay, get 7 this night, get 6 this night, maybe go to bed really early, go to bed at 7:45, 8 o'clock this day, and now you're rejuvenated and ready for the rest of the week.
Yeah, having just gone through the World Series and there are some pretty late games there, even in Central Time Zone where you are, how do you balance trying to stay up and pay attention to what's happening versus just saying, screw it, I'll find out in the morning and put things together from there for segments?
Yeah, I mean it's a team effort, I would say. So uh, we have two producers on the show. There's me, and then there's our executive producer. So we've got like multiple channels and documents of things where we keep segment ideas and topics. Usually, like our kind of plan every day is if you kind of start after the show Monday, because going over the weekend is unique, because especially right now there's a lot of football, so that kind of takes care of itself essentially. But if you start after our show Monday, from 9 to like noon every day is our pre-planned time for the next day. So we're going through and we're saying, all right, what did we talk about today? Is there anything we didn't get to today that's still going to be relevant tomorrow? What's a topic? We have specific segments per day of the week that we've kind of made into, rituals already or recurring segments. So we're kind of placing things into our rundown at that point, and then you kind of just got to wait and see where the dominoes fall, right? Like last night, and on certain games, you might get a Broncos Raiders punt fest on Thursday night, and the next morning you're not going to have really anything to talk about this game, or you might get a 50-40 shootout with crazy turnovers and all these wild storylines. So at that point, to what you were saying about staying up, if it's I'll stay up for my team. I found that it's not even really worth it for me to stay up. I didn't watch those World Series games like past 10 o'clock. I'm like, I gotta get to bed. And honestly, it sounds crazy, but like Twitter is like our best friend. It is unbelievable how, especially with algorithms and stuff now, like it knows what I'm looking for. I'm looking for like sports highlights. And so I can go and I get up every morning. First thing I do is I come out in my kitchen, I pull up Twitter, and usually within the first like 20 posts are the five most important things that I missed the night before. And then from there, it's just formulating. Okay, going back, watching game highlights. Did somebody get fired last night? Did this person get hurt? And then you just kind of take that and piece it all together.
What's the one thing that you've done in 2 months that you've thought, well, this definitely isn't college athletics or semi-pro baseball?
Oh my gosh, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things. It hasn't even really hit me yet. Like hearing you say, like, I work in broadcast television. Like I've had people, like I've gone and played golf, and people are like, "Yo, what's your story?" Essentially, like, and I go play golf at like 11 a.m. on a Tuesday. There's like only so many people are playing golf at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday, so we're all kind of like, "What are you doing out here? Like, how do you get out here?" And I'm like, "Well, I work in," and I'm so used to saying I work in sports or I work in college athletics, but I don't really anymore. Like I have to specify, like, oh, I do like broadcast television, which is its own open-ended question. Then I have to get more specific. I'm like, no, I work for a sports show. Um, what have I done that's like? I mean, it's just like every single day. I think is so very different than what I did before, and part of that is where I work. Barstool is unlike any place I've ever worked. Um, it's the most laid back and fun atmosphere of any place I've ever worked. But then to touch on something I mentioned earlier, it's also so much more corporate than I think other people realize and that I realize. Like when you're a multi-million billion dollar company, like you got to have your ducks in a row, and people like there's a million people that are working, to make sure that the ship is running smoothly. So um, I think it's just every single day when I sit in the chair and we're like 3 minutes to air, and I'm looking in front of me and it's FS1. That's kind of the moment every day. I'm like, all right. Normally, I'm thinking like I'm just gonna do this game, and again, no offense to some college sports, but how many people are going to be watching this men's basketball game, on a Tuesday night? Maybe not too many, but it's like this I only worked how many linear shows in my life before this. Not I didn't work very many. So to be sitting on a linear channel every day, it's like okay, lock in and get ready to go because like we talked about earlier, this matters.
And it is interesting when you look at it that way. You mentioned earlier, 4,000 people at a game for River Dogs to 44,000 at a game for Vanderbilt to now six, seven figures of viewers, depending on the day, at on FS1 on actual television. I always approached it as it's just my mom maybe watching,
Hmm.
but even then, not likely because she forgot how to work the Roku. When it was on ESPN Plus, and it's it. Do you still try to approach it like that, or are you more cognizant of where you are, as you just said?
I think to your point, that's how I kind of judge like how good what we're doing is. Um, I've worked at a couple of different places, and actually, this would be a good question for you. Is like I'm big on control room vibes. I think if I when I walk into a control room and it's like dead silent, I am like my red flags go up immediately because I'm like this something's off. Like there's nobody's having if nobody's having fun, nobody's communicating. I feel like the show is not going to be as good. Like every control room I've ever been in that's been really successful, everybody's clicking in on the same page, but that's because we're like enjoying ourselves and we're doing all this, and that's how I judge our show every day. Is like when we have our post show meeting, I know that there was 3 or 4 different times over the course of the show that everyone in the control room is laughing or hooting and hollering about something. That's good. If we like it, we have a diverse group of people in this control room. If we like it, I know that there's some people that are watching like it too. And so that's kind of how I take it. Like if we're enjoying it, and I know my mom and the couple people I know are enjoying it, like that's only there's only so much we can do when it comes to that.
No, to answer your question, kind of thrown at me. Yeah, I complete vibes believer, 100%. I always try to keep a good vibe in my trailer. When I go to sites now, if there's not a good vibe, man, it's a do I want to come back to this?
Well, especially when there's so many games. Like I think back to our Charleston days. Like, and well, I say our Charleston days. You still have Charleston days. But like I just remember, when you're coming to the ballpark for game 65, and I know you didn't work every game, but you worked 97% of the games at least when I was there. Like it can be tough walking up those stairs and being like, all right, here we go. We got another 6 hours ahead of us. But when you walk into the control room and instantly it's like, all right, we're back together again. Everyone's laughing and having fun. Like it changes the whole thing. Um, and I feel like it literally does put a good product out there. I said the same thing when we were at Vanderbilt. I'm like, I don't want you to not talk, or I'm the biggest person. I talk people's ear off on a headset. I'm commenting on the game. I'm saying, why did you shoot that three? I'm like that guy. Some people probably don't like it, but it keeps me in the game. It keeps everyone else on headset paying attention to what's going on. We're having conversation about the literal product of what we're doing. And I truly believe like it helps again like the vibes, but also like the quality of what we're doing.
Yeah, it's exactly how I roll. I'm chatting. I'm a chatter. I'm a talker.
Yeah. Yeah.
And once you get to bigger shows, when you have so many layers and so many trailers, yeah, I understand you got to cut that out, or you got to stop
Yep.
that. But that still leads to pre-show and building show, and then like lunchtime together. If like South Carolina, Oklahoma, obviously when I did that, that was not going to be a chatter. That's not going to happen. But being around the producers, being around the directors, being around everyone else, it was still a good vibe, and it didn't feel like anybody was over anybody. It didn't feel like anybody was there just half-assing it. Everybody was there because they wanted to be there, and it was fun. On top of obviously we were getting paid, but we were there because we wanted to be there, and it was a good time. Everybody had a good time, and it's how I ran my trailer. It's how I direct. I chat. Talking to the camera people, I'm talking to my producer or my graphics operator or whatever, and it keeps me engaged. It keeps others engaged. It like you said, it leads to the good vibes where people will say, "All right, I want to go back and work there again," and that helps you in the long run.
100%. Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's to me, it's the most fun part of our job personally. Is like it's like when a athlete retires and they say, "What do you miss the most about your playing days?" And most of them say the locker room, like chemistry and the locker room antics. I feel like that's what it's like the equivalent for us. It's like we go to work and it's to me the most fun is it's like the time that's like 2.5 hours before the beginning of the game to like 45 minutes before, like that time where it's you're doing stuff but you don't really have to lock in all the way yet. And it's just yeah, that's to me it's so much fun. Um, there's a lot on the line for what we do, but at the end of the day, it's like we said, it's all kind of we're there having fun. we're watching sports, we're talking about sports. Um, it's all pretty light at the end of the day.
And to your point, and it's something you did a good job of in your time at the River Dogs. It's mid July, and we're just kind of everyone's already kind of frayed, and we need a break. And it's up to someone like you, or if it's me, and we're in the middle of crossover season, and you know fourth broadcast in 5 days. It's up to you to bring that energy, and that's kind of part of being that leadership is saying, all right, I'm tired, but I need to step it up a little bit so that these guys know, we're still got a high energy show. We're all feeling it. You're not alone, but we're still here doing this, and we need to have that energy and that oomph to get us over that hump for that Sunday show or that last show of before we get a week off.
Yeah, I've felt it already with our show now. I mean, it's when you get to Thursday or Friday of you're getting up early every day. It's easy for us all to walk in the office that morning and be like, oof, like man, it's 5 a.m. I'm exhausted, but and maybe we'd let that sit for like a half hour, you know. But then when we're an hour 30 minutes out from show, like it's like, all right, how we feeling? Like we got we're getting close. Like you good, you got your stuff you need, you're ready to go, and because it's you got it, like you said, it's we're not gonna have a good show. You're not gonna be totally present if we're just like dragging, like it is a major part of what we do.
So then I got to know, how's the coffee at Barstool?
Really good. We got a great coffee machine, unlike any. It's like one of those coffee machines where you press like cappuccino or latte or americano or whatever. And I'm a milky coffee guy. I'm not afraid to admit it. Give me all the creamer and sugar and all that nonsense. But this coffee machine has sometimes when you have those machines, it's like powdered milk or something, to make the fake milk. This has a hose that goes to a mini fridge that sits next to it with a literal gallon of whole milk. And it sucks it into the thing and steams it. It's incredible. So, yeah, I'm a big coffee guy. It's like the best part of my day. I usually make a coffee at home at like 4:30, have that, and then make another one when I get to the office at like 5:15. And usually that does the trick. But so I'm ready to go.
I think we need to add that to the pro list of working there.
Oh, there's a lot. I mean, if the office, we got a golf simulator, we got a basketball court, we got a soft serve ice cream machine. What else do we have? There's like a gym in there. There's a whole kitchen. I mean, it's spectacular.
Oh wow. How's your game? How's
My golf
but yeah,
game,
how's the golf game?
it has its good days and bad days, as they always say. I mean, when it's good, it feels really good. Um, This is a weird time of year because I've now had like 4 rounds of golf the last like 3 weeks where think maybe this is the last one of the season, and we just got like 4 inches of snow on Sunday night. So I think I am officially done now. Um, but it was like I think with that in my mind, I played like crap the last like 4 rounds because I'm like this might be the last one. I want to play really really well, and then you get tense and don't play as well. So hopefully the simulator in the winter time will kind of keep me going and keep me fresh for the spring.
Yeah, I was wondering if people want to use that or as a way to show off, or if they just don't want to embarrass others in the office, so they don't want to use it.
No, I mean it's not used as much as you'd probably think because I mean most of the time we're all working and doing stuff. I typically like my boss or my EP and I will kind of go in on Fridays after our show and maybe play like 9 holes. Um, So it's just a good way to. So many people just walk in and you might just pick it up and hit 6 balls and then walk out. It's just like it's just there. It's a really nice perk. And if you like golf, I mean, it's like tells you all your stats and stuff. Like you can really actually use it as a practice tool, which is awesome.
Do you want to know all those stats?
Sometimes no. Sometimes it's very depressing to see why do I keep hitting the ball on the very end of the golf club? Why can I not hit it in the middle like I'm supposed to? So yeah, it's not always the best thing, but constructive criticism, hopefully.
Yeah, he is Jeremy Schrank, segment producer for Wake Up Barstool, weekday mornings on FS1. Jeremy, anything else you'd like to add?
Thanks for having me. It's great to catch up with you. And I hope people listening are enjoying themselves with whatever they're doing. It's the coolest. It's the coolest job working in sports. My sports is my passion. I always say that sports is my passion. Production is like my came after, which I don't know if that's how common that is with people in this business, but everything we do is so fun. It's been honored to be able to meet people like you along the way. So, thanks for having me.
No, man, it's been great to see you. It's been great to catch up, and you were always great to work with and for, and I always appreciated having you around, whether it was Riverdog, Citadel, getting you on some
Yeah,
high school football or anything. It was always
yeah,
great to have you, man.
yeah. I still will never forget. I don't know. I don't think it was your call. It was like my second or third high school football game that I worked with you, and it was like I was working end zone cam in the lift. I'm not a heights guy, and on basis, I'm like not feeling it. And then it was like 30-mile-an-hour winds. Like it was like frisky, and I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta go up. I gotta go up in this thing, and it's like, I remember getting up there. I got to a certain point, like two-thirds up the goalpost, and I was like, okay, that's enough. And then whoever was directing it, I don't think it was you, but maybe it was like, you're supposed to be above, like, keep going, go higher. I was like, no, 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 no. I think this is good for today. That was like, that was a big I'll never forget that.
I always felt horrible asking people to get in those lifts. For that reason, I don't like them. I've had to be in
Some people
before.
love that stuff though.
Yeah,
Some people are all about it, but it's like, I mean, again, I get if you get like get queasy looking over like a 10-foot ledge. Like I am really, really bad with heights.
I can do
But
controlled heights. I got to the edge of the Grand Canyon and looked off because I'm standing there. I'm comfortable with that. But anything you add that will shake, no, 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 no,
controlled
thank you.
heights, I've not heard that one before.
Yeah,
But I like that, but that's still not me. No, because I would be if I got like 10 feet away from that ledge, I would be like
yeah,
doing that.
yeah, and that's me on those lifts. So I always hated putting people there, and thankfully I had enough people that like, yeah, I don't care that it was almost always not an issue. So I that would not have been my call on that one.
Yeah. We made it through to tell the story.
That's right. That's right. Jeremy Schrank, segment producer, Wake Up Barstool. Jeremy, thanks for coming on. As always, I'm Nick Case for Dennis Trapani and Alex Souza. Good night, Satellite.